Hallihallo, willkommen zurück. Our third topic this week is Weihnachtsgestalten. Gestalten means figures here. Because today I will teach you about all of the people that come visit us throughout the holidays. There are quite a few of them and it's a bit chaotic, so pay attention. The fellows we're going to meet today are Nikolaus, Knecht Ruprecht, Heiliger Christ, Christkind, and Weihnachtsmann. Let's start with the Nikolaus. By the way, this is called a Nikolausmütze. The Nikolaus is portrayed as a friendly, jolly man that is dressed in white and red and brings presents to good kids and a beating to bad kids. Sound familiar yet? The figure of the Nikolaus was based on a bishop from the 300s who was later announced a saint by the Catholic Church, Sankt Nikolaus, Saint Nicholas. He's been a popular figure ever since, and he's seen as the patron of children. Now the Saint's Day, or name day, Namenstag, as we say in German, of Nikolaus, being the 6th of December, people during the Middle Ages decided that this would be a good day to give presents to children, because, after all, it was the Saint's Day of the children's patron. Back then, this was the only day that kids got presents during December, by the way. No 24th, 25th, 26th yet. This tradition has survived until today. Kids in Germany still get chocolate, other treats, and little presents on the 6th of December. They traditionally come in socks that were hanged on the stove or out the window, but people use other packaging as well. My mom still made me a basket this year, isn't that cute? Shiny. An essential part of the basket or sock or box or whatever is a Nikolaus made of chocolate. This is mine this year. He's green because this tone of green is the trademark of the company that made him. Just a little hint, he tastes minty. Normally these figures are supposed to look more like this guy, although, as you just saw, they're normally a bit bigger. So they're dressed in red and white, and they come in, well, more or less Catholic clothing. The most popular ones nowadays are the ones that look less Catholic, but there are still ones in packaging that still have the big hat and, a nice staff and all that, but normally by now they look similar to this one. They have this tradition in the Netherlands too, by the way. There, the Nikolaus is called Sinterklaas. I'm aware I pronounced that horribly. I don't speak Dutch. I'm so sorry. This is how Santa Claus came to America, as you can probably imagine. Now, where there's Nikolaus, there is Knecht Ruprecht. A knecht was a young man helping out on farms, or just overall a servant throughout the Middle Ages and well after that. That is where the term comes from, which is why nowadays it really doesn't have a proper usage anymore. But it is still used pejoratively to call somebody a slave or minion to somebody else. So for example, especially nice and funny people would call a man his wife's knecht. So Knecht Ruprecht is Nikolaus' scary helper. He's there to carry the Nikolaus' big bag or basket and also to menace children. Basically, this figure was invented to scare children, which was a very popular thing to do in the Middle Ages. Because, if you don't know anything about raising them right, you can at least tell them that if they're naughty, a big bad man will come and take them away, do horrible things to them, or just, plain and simple, just eat them. So, if you had been good, the Nikolaus would come, and all you would get were presents. But if you had been bad, Knecht Ruprecht, who always came along because he had to carry the Nikolaus' stuff, would give you a whooping with his Rute, which is either an assemblement of twigs, or just a stick, or, anything hard that really hurts. Or in other regions, he would just stuff you into the sack and abduct you. Depends on how scared the parents wanted their children to be, I guess. So it is said that he was more or less a symbol for the devil that had been tamed by the Nikolaus' divinity. In some regions that got rid of the Nikolaus completely after the Reformation or during the Reformation, Knecht Ruprecht became responsible for both handing out presents and punishing bad behavior. Speaking of the Reformation, that period, or shall we say Martin Luther, made all of this a bit more chaotic. But that's okay, because a lot of good came with it, not only for Christians back then, but also for Christmas. Since the Reformation abolished the worshipping of saints, St. Nicholas had to go, at least in the Protestant tradition. This is where some regions who had a big Protestant population got rid of the Nikolaus completely and replaced him with Knecht Ruprecht. Through that, at least the poor guy wasn't regarded as pure evil anymore. Martin Luther instead replaced the Nikolaus with the Heiliger Geist, so Holy Christ, and decided that from now on, this would be the guy that brought the children presents. And he also decided that he would bring these presents on the 25th of December, no longer on the 6th. But because traditions are traditions, both traditions kind of, stayed there. So from then on, pretty much from then on, a little later, children got presents twice in December. Of course, Luther's Heiliger Geist referred to Jesus Christ. And over time through this, the image of the figure that brings presents on Christmas transformed into the Christkind, so the Christ child, which I think was through the evolution that Heiliger Christ stands for Jesus, and since Jesus was born on Christmas, they made him into a child figure. He was often portrayed, or this Christkind was often portrayed as an angel, or at least a child with angel wings. So it became it became its own thing. And because it became its own thing, it became more and more independent from the image of Jesus. So it really didn't have a connection soon after it developed. And even though it came into being through some Protestantly caused complications, it later became the Catholic symbol or the Catholic figure responsible for bringing Christmas presents, while Protestants traditionally stayed with the Heiliger Christ. But that old tradition was soon replaced by a new one. The new Protestant Christmas figure became the Weihnachtsmann, so the Christmas man. So now, traditionally, German Catholics have the Christkind, and German Protestants would have the Weihnachtsmann. The Heiliger Christ is kind of out of the equation, except in old carols. Poor guy. But in time, and also highly influenced by the American Santa Claus, which, as you might remember, developed from Sinterklaas, which is our Nikolaus, most Germans nowadays regard the Weihnachtsmann as the one who brings presents on Christmas. So all of these developments mixed over time, and you had different developments in different regions, so you had different traditions in different regions that then mixed again, and because we all became more connected over time, we basically now have the same to very similar traditions in all of Germany. There are still some regional differences, but they're really small. For example, some very Catholic regions probably still have the Christkind, even though normally nowadays everybody knows of the Weihnachtsmann. And also, as I said, because traditions are traditions, we also still have the 6th of December as Nikolaus. The Nikolaus and the Weihnachtsmann basically still look kind of the same. Maybe the Nikolaus is a bit thinner around the waistline. I don't know. They're dressed in basically the same thing. They look very similar, which is a bit confusing. But, they kind of are not the same, but they're kind of, they developed out of each other. So I guess that's kind of understandable. So basically, the Nikolaus is only still there because traditions. And because presents twice within 1 month is awesome. Duh. So that's it for today. Make sure you let me know about the figures and traditions and whatever that bring presents in your country on Christmas. Comment. Bis morgen!